Good afternoon. I'm Dullin, focusing on the macro-PK field. Thank you. So we'll talk about online repository. I will go quick, but it's inside a more global project about macro-PK collaborative. So the outline, I will go quickly because I think we are short in the time schedule. So the first thing we'll see is what is Poltergeist, and I think that anybody here know about Poltergeist, but just in any case, yes, John Cruz asked me for what is this, so I will just ask. So mainly it's some events that happens either in a house, either in a shop, either in a school, very different place. And mainly the fact is like object moving, and we don't know why and how they are moving. Sometimes it's like furniture turned upside down, and sometimes it's as I have experienced in '93 in France, we get some raps. So normally, I didn't have the sound. Sorry, I didn't take the source. That's okay. So people interested will ask me, and I can play them after. No, I think we don't have time. So Poltergeist globally, anybody knows what it is, and there is two main approach to look at this. The first is to look at the people who are experiencing it, and try to know what they experience during their events. And so, for example, Johan make an online survey of more than 400 people using 32 parameters to qualify which experience they have experienced. And the other approach is to say that to look at the relation between the psychological profile of the people and the experience they have. And so we talk about transliminality, and also some people are talking about haunting people syndrome, like Ventola and less. And the last approach is to say that you look to our environment and to see if there is an environment could be an impact in the haunting experience. For example, if you are in a black room in an old castle, do you have some tendency to have some apparition? So that was the approach, looking to the people and looking to their experience and try to explain why they have this experience. The other approach is to look at historical case. So there is historical case from antiquity and in many countries. And so the first step is to make some case collections. That was done by many people in the past, or either in Germany like Pulse, or in France like Flammarion, or Owen in the US, or Bozzano in Italy. And so this guy managed to collect the case and identify where there was poltergeist. And then there was some more quantitative study. So people who try to compare different scenarios. And you can talk about the RAB. So when the first one makes some comparison between cases, but very known guy is Orr in the US, make a 177 case comparison, and also Gold and Cornell in UK with a book where there is 500 cases in their book comparing the different scenarios. And the more recent studies are more qualitative, intense. They are more focused often on one case. For example, Whitson in the South Shield case make a whole book and several books on the same case. Case Linder did the same. And also Healy and Cooper make a more geographic focus. They make a book with only the Australian case. So globally, there is many information, as you can see, and it's just an extract. But the problem is that if you want to make a study, to make statistics, or you have to take by hand, because it's all printing things. And when I wanted to make a comparison between the finding of Hussmann and Schreiber in Germany with 54 cases and the Goldland Cornet finding, I was not able to do that just like that. So if I want to make an Excel spreadsheet, I don't have data. So the first thing was to digitalize all these things. So in fact, 4 or 5 years ago, I started to do that, and to have the idea that maybe it would be interesting for the community to have a referential database of all these cases. And so I start from the Gold and Cornell case because there was 500 cases, more than 90% were with physical effects, which was my focus. And inside that, more than 140 has some are report in journal with a committee. So they are very documented case. And they have also a testimonial level and a detail level. So you're able to see if this case is not so good about testimonial or either this case is very good. And there is a detailed source, so you can go directly to look where you can find a detailed presentation of the case. And there is 63 parameters. We define the phenomenology of the case. So for example, is there a movement of object? Is there a fire ignition? Is there a window opening? Is there smell or cold draft? And so forth. And so moving forward, we had some more than 800 cases in this scenario. We work with, in Italian, with Massimo Bondi, who collect more than 200 cases and use also the same parameters and Gold and Cornell to qualify the phenomenology of this case. And also all the printed book that we could find about Poltergeist. So I look about international way. And so globally, most cases have multiple sources. And we exclude the case where more subjective and the case where we look more at the myth or legend, but not really a fact. So globally today, the database is more than 1,300 documented cases in more than 50 countries. So it's mainly today, it's more focused or tropism on Europe and UK because it's historical. So if you look to the history of the case from the antiquity, you have some case in here. Sorry, use that is better. Okay. So here is the older case and the more recent case. And this is a curve with number of cases per year. So it gives you an idea of the density of the case per period. So this is the period where there will be more cases identified per year, but mainly because the US is coming in here. It's coming. It starts with the 1847 with Fox Sisters and the table tipping wave when there is so many case poltergeists reported. And all this period was very producing about mediumship, and people were very conscious about that, and they report many things. And so it's the wave continue here, and we continue here, but it's less bit since 1975. We see that we have a bit less reported case. Okay. So let's look at the website and the database. So the idea, the first, which parameter do we use? So we keep the 633 parameter from Gold and Corners, but we study also other scale. The scale proposed by Uran, which is survey of strange events, and also the scale proposed by Wolfgang Farr in Germany. And finally, we decide to have two approaches. The first approach is to have a very detailed scale, which is today it's 93 parameters. So you can go directly in really detail each case with a very fine invent. And the other way is to have an aggregate scale of around 30 parameters, which gives us the possibility to make some more segmentation and grouping study. And we keep the idea of the, we keep the idea of the testimonial level and detail level. Each time we can, we try to evaluate for the case. So we are able to make some sort and select case using these parameters. So let's look at the online database. So globally out now, the site is in prototype mode, but we'll go directly on the admin level. So you can see directly the base, the database. So for example, here, I will just check for 50 entries. So here we have all the parameters. We talk about 93 parameters. So you have all the parameters, so by number, and also it's by language. So here it's in English. So for example, is there a male agent identified? The fact was more nocturnal or diurnal? Is there, for example, was it house centers? So people think that it was really linked to the house and not the people. Is there, for example, raps? Is there some imitative noise? Okay, and so you have many electrical equipment. You have spontaneous breakage. You have now also we had some parameter like communication with SMS, with phone, because it was not the case before, and so forth. So this is for the parameters, the basic parameters used in the global database, which is here. If it works, yeah. Coming. Poltergeist. Okay. Okay. So this is you have a 30. So this is a 1302 case of poltergeist. So for each case, we have the where is coming from this case, who has provided the case. So we have a tracking of that. The reference, for example, here it's Camille Flammarion who makes the reference of the case, and you have the duration, you have the country, and you have also the detailed source information. So if you want to go to the case and read the detailed paper, and you have also the testimonial level and the detail level. So for example, this case is not very high level, okay? And you have the characteristics. So the characteristics is the parameters I talked just before, when you can say which type of events there were. And you can have some comments. So here, as it's the case providing from France, there is a French comment, but you can have an English comment, German, Italian. So according of the who is providing the case, you can have the comment of the case, and you can add, modify, and so forth. So for example, if we come back to Mexico, we can try to see if there is some case from Mexico. And okay. So currently, and so it's why we have to work with UPID, I'm sure. It's because we have two cases. We have one in Veracruz in 1987, report by a French woman who is working on the stone shower case. And this one is from the Ramses Dillon, which was, we can see directly the source. Yeah, he presented that in SCCPA connection in 2021. And it was the famous case of where he was able to work with 6 cameras and see by film a teleportation of coins. So we have a quick summary here. 50 years old man supported with apport of 60 coins, dead flower, fruits. And here you have a high-level testimonial because there is directly a film catcher. And this is the detailed numbers corresponding to the what happens during this poltergeist. So which events, which kind of events was happening. So if we look, for example, I was as I saw the program, I saw that Gerald Meyer was presenting tomorrow a case called Compton. So I was curious to see it was in the database, and it was it. In fact, you can find it here. It's the provider was the Italian database done by Biondi. It was a case in 1982 during 3 weeks. And we could find that the source information is either the Biondi database, but also it was in the Geoff Holder book, which is a Poltergeist over Scotland. And so it's a case 100 in this book. And so you can go directly on the book and have detailed information. And so mainly the information here is to say that it was about a witch which caused fire port. But I didn't. I don't want to go further because I'm sure that Gerald will make a nice detail about this case tomorrow. Okay, so this is to show the full database, which is today in prototype mode about the frontage, about the ergonomy, because it's a backend. Okay, 5 minutes and show. Okay, let's come back. So then Oh, what's happening? Good. So, in fact, I extend then the poltergeist approach with, sorry, what's happening? Okay. With a more full website, which focus on macro PK. And there is a part about poltergeist with the phenomenology and the database. There is a part of about mediumship, another part about mystics, and the last part about experimentation. So the idea is to capitalize all the experimentation that have been done on PK and try to document it all this on the site. And so there is about theory and it's different language. So this in French, but we have also in Spanish, for example. Okay. So, but it's a start, you know, as I mentioned. So, and so about the database. So we add to the global poltergeist database, we add some research organization. So you could find the different organization working in this field. So IGPP, Rhine Center Research, and we can find also UPID and so forth. And then once you have the research organization, you can look to the researcher, people working in this field, and with the history. So we can find, for example, Albert von Schronznoxin, Eugene Osti, Harris Price, and I just checked because Jim McLennan showed us a group PK information, and he talked about the SORAT project, which was a big project about macro PK. So, for example, if I make a search about SORAT, I can see which researcher was working on that, and I can find William Edward Cox. You mentioned him, John Thomas Richard, which was one of the founder of the project, and we could find at the end McLennan, Jim McLennan, and there was a sociology. He was a speciologist and a group PK online using Pinwheel. So he's present on this, and you can have his reference with the SSCPA 2021. So just to show that with that you can have many information associated with different topics if you are interested by macro PK. So as I am running out of time, I will go quicker. Okay. So we have also a table about psychic subjects, which are either mediumships or mystics. And so them things we can see which investigators I work with them, and so we can which the years they can start and they end. So we can have some graphics if you want to make your study. So let's go to the last steps. Is to say that this is a prototype, and we want to develop a collaborative project about this. So the idea is to build an international database which capitalize all this data, which imply different organizations. So it's why I'm speaking to different people here to say how we can work together to upgrade and increase and develop this database. And this will be a tool for researcher. For example, yesterday I think it was Philippe Cosolino, show a study he done about child's past memories. He extracts data from the Stevenson database and he make a full project. So the idea is this also is people want to make some study about the poltergeist, they can make an extract of what they want, and they can make the study and make the report, and so it's move forward with the community. And so there is many connection possible with other database, and this we use largely Psy Encyclopedia. When we talk about researcher, we have a link to the Psy Encyclopedia. And the idea is to perpetuate the project so other people can manage it, even in different language. So it's why it's a standard technology, multilingual in front-end and back-end. So you can use another future website would be macropk.org. And it will be, the goal is to be first release in end of September. And I think that globally, it's a big effort to capitalize information. there is a paper in press in GSC about detailed poltergeist phenomenology, which use more than 100 cases of this database. So it could be available, I think, by the end of the year. And we hope to make another paper or using the last data to make new statistics about poltergeist, to update all this stuff about segmentation analysis and compare with other approaches which have been done some years ago. So if you are interested, give me a mail or we can talk. I'm really happy to answer to you, and I will be able to show you and work together on this website. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Eric, for this presentation of this amazing tool, and I really hope that you had a lot of support from all the colleagues here in this room and all over the world. So I think it's a very, very useful tool that you here are creating. So we have a few minutes time for questions.
Hi, Eric. I have two very quick questions. One is, how do I get there?
As I showed, there is multi-level. So the first level would be free anyway, it's all free. It's not for money. So it's .org, it's for that. So it's the first level would be people can go on the site and they see many information. But at first, they don't look to the database. And if they have to want to the database, they have to have a member. So they just have to subscribe inscription only.
So could I share it with my students as well?
Yeah, sure. The idea is that. And maybe after you want to be another level in your organization and some people want to try to ask for modification or import new case. Mm-hmm. And in this case, we have another level. Mm-hmm. So we can work with different organizations to move on this level.
So new cases have to go through you at this point?
Today, we introduce the new case, but the idea is that people can propose new case directly on the site. And nice. So there is a tracking, so there is modification request or introduction request, and we can check it, and then we can validate the case, and the case go on. And the idea is that this function could be done by other people in other language, so we are not the only guy making it.
I will ask you for the URL.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is very impressive work. I mean,
thank you.
I can only imagine how many hours is that are behind this thing. But,
yeah.
And I think you partially answered my question. How do you plan on keeping this current? And how is this updated? Because that's going to be the main challenge. Not only in terms of how many person hours are going to need to be put in order to update this thing, but how to keep, what is the quality control of what goes into the database? So are you planning on setting standards, or, and now of course there's a collaborative work, about which cases go into this database and which do not make the cut?
Yeah, I think you're right. That's the key. And when we do that, because I'm not alone, I work with other people to find case and for example, how you qualify the testimony level and the detail level. You know, you take 3 people and maybe they don't put exactly the same grade, but that's a risk. You know, there is always a subjective way. And when we discuss with Italian guys, they say that they make the point about the parameters for the phenomenology, but they didn't want to make the point about the testimonial level and detail level because they think it was too subjective. But my view of that is, even if it's subjective, the information is interesting because I will not put 9 testimonial level of a case I think it's very low. So maybe other people would put 3, I will put 2, but anyway, it gives information. I know if a 2 case is not a 9 case. So I think it's always information which is interesting. So the way the quality control, I imagine first that we have to do the work. So, and after we can define exactly, and I have defined tables to define how we can put testimonial level and detail level. So because I work with other people and they use the same thing. and we can train the people to do the same. And for the phenomenology systems, it's the same. It's only time, because you have to go through the case and you have to identify if there is slam doors, if there is some water, puddle, if there is some people talking about possession, and so you just have to say yes or no of these parameters. So it takes time, but it's not so complex. And imagine you can have some different approach, but not so big. So globally, when you make statistics, it makes sense. And you'll see when, because I present already some statistic about around 500 cases, and we show that there is very coherent data. So we show that the more the testimonial level is high, and the more parameters are good. So that's a good important it's important case. And also the more we have, the more we move on the testimonial level, and the less we have the trickery, or I would say no, it's not exactly trickery. It's trickery. Yes, the trickery parameters remain at 1 or 2%, even if we increase the level of testimonial or investigation. Sorry, if we increase the level of, because we have a case, is there investigation, and the more we have investigation, and then the trickery is stay. Right? And we can say that if it's a database where there is many trickery things, more you investigate, the more you find the trickery. Not sure I'm clear, but sorry.
So we have time for last short question. Short question, short answer.
This follows up with what he was just asking, but I'm assuming those who are allowed to contribute to this won't just be anybody off the street. For instance, if I'm at Ghost Hunters TV show, blah, 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 and I'm like, oh, I'm going to contribute all my cases, which we might be assuming are not quite as accurate. I'd have to be, in a way, vetted as a quality researcher or something like that, so that you don't just upload a whole bunch of cases that you can't necessarily trust. So that's going to be part of the control, I assume, right off the bat. And then you're talking about quality control amongst some of the researchers in the field already that are established. Not to say that.
Yeah, I understand your question. Yeah, okay. So yes, the problem is the filtration. For example, Gold and Cornell, they really look at cases which were already most documented by different people or investigators. And when I talk to Italians, they say, yeah, you know, the newspapers, when there is an article in newspapers, people write something they heard. It's not so bad, the newspaper. So if you have a newspaper where they write an article, the guy, very often they often are against this kind of events. So when you have a newspaper writing these events with good facts, it's pretty good. So it's not a high level about testimonial, but it's good to take in account. But if it's just some 10 line on internet and you don't have any other information, so this is, you have to be careful and make yourself your research to find if there is another source of that, if there are people speaking about it in other newspapers, or if not, you don't take it, okay? But you're right, the problem is to filter the data at first. But the testimonial detail level is a good way, because you take the case and you have nothing in it and you have no witness, so you are at least 1-1, at least. So he's in the base, but you don't use it.
So thank you again, Eric, for your important work.
Thank you. Thank you. And waiting to work together to make live this.